So we all made the standing rib roast for Christmas, and now there are tons of leftovers. The good thing is that it is super easy to turn this into a completely different dish so that no one is bored or disgusted with microwaved steak. Start by prepping the onions, slicing them thinly and evenly so that they will cook at the same rate, or else you will have some very soft onions and some very crunchy ones. I like to cut the onions in long, thin strips so that for people who like onions, they blend well with the thin strips of meat. But for me, the long strips are just easier to separate from the meat since I really don't like onions. The key to a stir fry is always to have each ingredient cut to the same size so that everything cooks at the same speed. I absolutely hate onions, but they are necessary to provide some flavor to the meat as well as a good part of the essence of this dish, so they are a necessary evil here. However, if you like onions, then for this amount of meat you should probably use 2 onions. Then finally mince a clove of garlic, either like how you would mince an onion or by smashing it with the side of your knife. Slice the meat thinly at an angle so that you get bite-sized pieces that will stay tender and brown quickly. I made slices about the thickness of 3 credit cards stacked on top of each other. On high heat, toss in the onions when the oil is smoking hot. Add in a pinch of salt and black pepper. The salt will help draw out some of the moisture from the onions. And this initial addition of black pepper that is being cooked with the onions will produce a different layer of flavor compared to the freshly cracked black pepper that we will add in at the end. Since this is black pepper steak, we want to introduce black pepper at all stages of cooking. The thinly sliced onions will brown quickly under high heat, producing sweetness and a bit of char flavor. When the onions brown and reach the texture that you desire, remove them from the pan to make way for the meat. The onions will not soften much more from this point since they will only be added back in near the end when all of the cooking is complete. So you must check to see if the onions have reached the level of doneness that you want, whether it is with a bit of crunch or completely softened. Adding in some more cooking oil, we want to sear the meat quickly over high heat. Since the meat is sliced very thinly, it will not get tough from being cooked again. So making this is an ideal way to reuse medium rare steak. Additionally, if you think the steak could use more seasoning, you could even marinate the meat before cooking at this step. But since I am using leftover rib roast that was very well salted, I'm just going to leave it as is. After the meat is about halfway cooked through, add some more black pepper to amp up its flavors and blend it with the meat. And now we can also introduce the garlic to the meat and give that a quick toast in the center of the pan to bring out its aromas. Then add a small splash of rice wine to deglaze the pan and add a bit of sugar in to complement some of the natural sweetness from the onions. The dish now comes together quickly with the reintroduction of the onions along with the sweetened soybean paste. Stir this together and finally add in the cornstarch mix to create a silky sauce. Give it a taste for seasoning and maybe even add a touch more freshly cracked black pepper. This delicious black pepper steak is now good to go, and now you've transformed the rib roast leftovers into a whole new meal. So we'll see you in the new year and in the next one when it's time to eat again.